Hello, my dear students. I just recorded this entire class, but the screen recording was not on the right monitor, so I am doing it again. So this time, I already have the things typed on the whiteboard from the lesson I just taught that I didn't record. So that's why this time I'm not like typing as I go. Okay, round two, please, 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 universe, let's make this happen. Today is February 24th. We are beginning A1 progress tracking. This is part of the misunderstanding of approach category. We have 4 categories, 12 lessons, and more on that in just a moment. So today we're going to learn how to explain progress issues as process gaps, not personal mistakes. So you are going to learn how to speak system language and not speaking emotionally or personally. Very useful, very helpful in the business English communication world. Okay, so here we see 4 boxes. This is what my student Yuan You and I brainstormed together. So we spent some time talking about what are his biggest fears, what is he worried about when it comes to communicating with his manager and manager's manager. And he said a bunch of things which I ended up categorizing it into the 4 categories on the left: misunderstanding of approach, unrealistic requirement, timeline pressure, and idea disagreement. And then we dumped on the right side a couple of examples each. So number 1, progress tracking, and that's what we're doing today. Finalization of plan expectation, etc. You can see there are a couple of issues on each one, and I end up making something where it's 12 lessons, 3 lessons per category, and we're gonna do it A, B, C, D. So A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4, C1, C2, C3, C4, and then D1, D2, D3, D4. That is the idea right now. It could slightly change, but as far as the labeling, but as far as the materials, no, that is locked in, and I am so excited to give you guys these free lessons. And if you guys want some individualized attention one-on-one, I am more than happy to also work with you one-on-one. My email is below. Just send me an email and let's get you to become the most natural native English speaker there ever lived. Okay, so today we're going to talk about progress tracking. The idea is process, not people. So I would ask Yuan You something like, how did you know there was a problem? I'll give him some time to answer that. And if he is a little bit stuck, I would give him like a prompt, like, have you ever worked on a project where progress was unclear? I'll give him another 60 seconds to answer that. So if his answer becomes emotional, because sometimes reliving your uncomfortable experiences, or especially if you felt injustice and wronged, you can feel very emotional. If he does, I will guide him. I will redirect him gently to focus on the system and not the people. And then next we will go into defining the category together. So since this category is on progress tracking, I would ask him something like, how do you know, or how does a team know when a project stands over time? I'll give him some time to answer. And then usually in these long answers, I would give him a moment to kind of gather himself, gather the thoughts, and then I would only point out subtle things. Like, it's not as much on pronunciation here, it's more on like verb tenses or incorrect use of words, intonation sometimes. And then I would ask him something like this: tell me what are the some ways, what are some examples of progress tracking? So first he gave me milestone, which is his favorite. That's perfect. And then I would nudge him, encourage him to say the other three: metrics, updates, and checkpoints. Then we are on a section called neutral framing. I would ask him, what does it mean to speak neutrally? And maybe he gets it wrong and says, naturally means like comfortable. And I say, no, I said neutral, not natural. And he said, oh. And then he gives another answer. And again, I listen very carefully, very attentively, with a lot of care. And then I give him some more feedback. And then I will say, you know what, here, let's do some sentence repeating to get your brain in the neutral framing realm. And he goes, okay, so let's do these together. I will, this is an example here I said where like, he had a question earlier about bad and bad. So sometimes my student would also bring up like their own small things to ask if it's correct. And today he was correct. So going back to the class, please repeat after me. And let's do this in real life, my students, right now. Let's do this in real life. There may be a gap in progress tracking. You try. We didn't have clear checkpoints. Status updates weren't very visible. It was hard to tell where we stood. Okay, so you see there was no blame, no names, no emotions. No blame, no names, no emotions. That is neutral framing. And throughout this lesson and the next 11 lessons, we're going to learn how to be able to communicate the problems without blaming, naming, and emotions. The idea here is that and this is something I might ask him too, like what's something similar here in tone or in the way it was delivered in delivery? What's something similar here? If he gets it, I would be like, perfect. If he doesn't, I would give him a little hint, like, do they sound neutral or accusatory? And he would say, it sounds neutral. And I said, yes, bingo. And then we'll do a little micro practice here. So I've already, tossed it on the board because I told you this is the second time around today. I would say, describe a project where progress was unclear only using process words, meaning no emotional words, just process words. I'm gonna make myself a little bit bigger here for you guys so we're like more connected. By the way, I tutor one-on-one. If you are interested, my face would be even bigger on your screen, so that would be one incentive. Okay, so describe a project where progress was unclear only using process words, and I would give him 60 seconds to 2 minutes. This is where I make small corrections. Usually it's a lot of trimming, like trimming the fat. Like first I would, tell him to cut off, repetition of words or repetition of different words that mean the same thing. I would point out if there's lots of ums and uhs, but mostly it would be small corrections, like, a verb, a tense, or a word choice. The pronunciation is more for the phonics part, which we do in the beginning. I did not invent the phonics, but I did develop phonics for the adults so that you, as an adult, it's not too late to learn, because it's like if you're learning Chinese, 学中文不会汉语拼音怎么学? Same thing in English. If you're learning English without knowing the phonics first, you are missing that foundation block. My gosh. Okay, so now we're going to go into the next part. This is in red because it's very important. If it wasn't as important, I wouldn't have made it red. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I know this period should be here. That's fine. We're celebrating imperfection. So we're going to... Formulas always write down, because formulas can help you make your own sentences in the future. Step 1, name the category. Step 2, describe the gap. Step 3, describe the impact. I'll give my student like 30 seconds to write this down. So what does this look like? I will give us an example sentence for each, and then we will try some ourselves. So step 1, name the category. This was mainly a progress tracking issue. This was mainly a progress tracking issue. I just named the category. Now the gap. Gap is one of the 4 things. The metrics, the updates. Here, I'll show you guys. Checkpoints or milestone. So in this case, I'll say, we didn't have regular checkpoints. We didn't have regular checkpoints. Number 3, the impact. I will say something like, so the risks surfaced later than expected. So the risks surfaced later than expected. You see? Category, gap, impact. And here's a key thing to remember. Managers appreciate system language more because managers can trust system language more, significantly more. That's why we use neutral system language and not emotional personal language. Okay, now we're going to do a contrast drill. Contrasting is comparing 2 things, usually different, usually things that are polarizing or on the opposite ends. So today we're going to do people versus process. We are learning how to do process language. We're changing the people blaming to the process identifying process language. So I will give you 2 sentences and you tell me which one is better. Let's give this a try. Number 1, the team didn't communicate well, or progress updates weren't consistent. Which one is more neutral? Yes, if you chose 2, perfect. I'll give you another example. Number 1, they didn't tell us. Number 2, there wasn't a clear reporting mechanism. Which one is better? Perfect. If you said number 2, you are correct again. Okay. So now we're going to do some controlled practice. I might have just said something twice. I'm not sure. As you can see, like usually everything is already is not already typed out, but since I had to record this twice, that's a little bit of a glitch. Okay, so now we're going to do some controlled practice. So here is the prompt underlined. Control practice is another way to say scenario practice. So mock scenarios to help you prepare for real life scenarios. So I would ask my student to please read this out loud. And then I would ask him to use this step 1, step 2, step 3 to give me an answer, to describe the problem. And this wouldn't be on the board. I would put this after. So here I have is a target example, is something we're trying to get to. An answer that would be so nice would be like this. There was largely a progress tracking issue. We didn't have clear checkpoints. So issues were identified late because we have the category, we have the gap, we have the impact. We have category, gap, impact. I hope that was clear for you. Okay, and then we're going to do the wrap up. So depending on the student, some students need a little more time, some students are good to go. So I would save about 60 seconds to 5 minutes for the wrap up. So sometimes I would simply ask my students, give me a summary, a quick synopsis of what we learned today. If they are going a little bit off of summarizing and sharing more details, or just not answering as comprehensively, I would guide them. Like, what category did we practice today? Or what's a sentence we use today that you can see yourself using in real life? And that would be a wrap. So in this class of A1 progress tracking, we didn't just learn English. We did not just learn English. We learned leadership language, how to talk to your managers, your colleagues in a professional, neutral, non-blaming way. Perfect. That is a wrap for today's lesson. Come back tomorrow for A2. I am so glad you found me. Enjoy all these free content, and if you want a little bit more help, my email is down below. We can have some one-on-one classes as well. Okay, I will peace out now. Bye.